Different assignment types. Module 6. Intro. As we have seen so far, students dealing with readings and text will have to make an effort to understand and critically assess arguments. In this module, we will now need to consider some of the other assignment types, including 1. Answering quizzes and questions, 2. Practicing for and taking tests, and 3. Writing and revising essays. So, while the previous modules focused on understanding and assessing arguments within a text, this module will look at what different assignments might students have to do in philosophy and how do I help them. Step 1. Core assignment features. All assignment types are different, but they do tend to have some core features to initially look out for. 1. Structure. This spells out how the instructor wants the assignment done, detailing what to include and the format to use. 2. Due date. Find out from the student when it is due, and that can give you a good estimate of how much time you and they have to work. 3. Length. You also want to find out how long the assignment has to be, in terms of pages, word count, or time spent on it. Some instructors also offer extra credit. This won't always be the case, but find out if it's available and something you can work on in the session to improve their grade. Step 2. Understanding the task. The next step to helping a student with their work is to understand the type of assignment they're being asked to do. Generally speaking, this is often very clear, if not spelled out explicitly, on the student's assignment sheet, so be sure to get this from the student to best help them with their work. While assignment types can be very varied, for the purpose of this module, we'll be looking at the following broad categories. 1. Topic explanation. 2. Questions and answers. 3. Tests and test practice. 4. Writing and revising essays. 5. Presentations and videos. And 6. Group discussions. Step 3. Explanations. One of the most basic things you will have to do as a tutor is work in a session to explain a given topic to a student. Typically, this type of assignment will have a lot of overlap with the student's reading and perhaps demonstrates their difficulties in understanding a given piece of text. However, the primary difference here versus a typical reading comprehension type of assignment is 1. The student might have read and understood the text, but would like further explanation for things like context, usage, implications, etc. 2. The assignment has no specific reading, perhaps explaining something the student went over in class or has only in their notes. Step 4. Explanations. Continued. As with reading comprehension then, the process is fairly similar. 1. Find out what it is they are struggling to understand. 2. Look for any supporting reading or instructor reading that will help you improve their understanding. 3. Break down whatever they need to understand into smaller sections and test their knowledge as you go along. 4. Work on different explanations, from diagrams and pictures to changing your word use to make it easier to grasp. Most of the above will assume you have at least some working knowledge of the topic. For any topics or subjects you don't understand yourself, see Module 7 for specific strategies to handle unfamiliar situations. Step 5. Questions. Another very common assignment type is where students have a sheet of questions to which they're supposed to provide the answers from 1. Their reading or a section of text, 2. Class discussions and any notes, or 3. Finding out the information online. These assignments tend to require short answers of only a few lines or paragraphs rather than writing out whole essays. However, before you begin work on any questions, make sure the student understands the topic fully first. Otherwise, you'll only waste time going back over it and possibly correcting their answers later. Step 6. Questions. Continued. Once they are familiar with the topic, have them read through all the questions and ensure they fully understand them before answering. Students will want to focus on concise, clear, and complete answers, sticking to the point and ensuring they cover everything that's asked. The most important thing to remember is that the student has to answer the questions themselves. You can help them with where to find the answer, or help them understand the topic, but don't end up doing all the work for them. As always, remember to have them check the answers afterwards and that they properly answered the question. Step 7. Test practice. Often students will come to you for help because they have an upcoming test or exam and they want your assistance for studying. While there is some overlap with topic explanation, students won't necessarily need help understanding a topic, but they will certainly need assistance remembering it for their test. Therefore, you will want a strong emphasis on their ability to recall and explain certain information to you rather than the other way around. However, be sure to find out from the student if the test has any resources they are allowed to use on the day, such as their book or notes. That way, you can focus on what they need to know for the test and what they are not allowed to use, as opposed to what they are. Step 8. Test practice continued. As with topic explanation, work on what they don't know or understand first. That way, you can ensure that they have a complete knowledge base before they begin to commit it to memory. Test them on small sections at a time before moving on to the next one. Remember to revisit previous sections as time allows. Have the students take notes of anything they don't remember or still struggle with, and then test them on this much smaller list afterwards. This way, the pool of information they still have to learn gets gradually smaller each time you explain it and test them on it, making it easier to learn for the test. Step 9. Writing essays. Most tutors should be very familiar with helping students write essays, and philosophy is really not that different. Not all philosophy instructors will require formal essays with a typical structure, but if they don't specify, work on the basis that it is. This means making sure the students have 1. A title, 2. A clear introduction with a thesis, 3. Separate body paragraphs to explain each point, and 4. A conclusion to recap the main points. Most essays will also have a word limit that they need to keep in mind. For essays involving use of sources, e.g. their reading, you will want to determine what sources they need, integrate any quotes within the paper, and have them properly cited in MLA or APA format. Step 10. Writing essays continued. Before beginning work on their essay, most students benefit from creating an outline so they have a clear structure and know what they want to talk about in each section of the paper. As with answering questions, remember to have the student do the actual writing rather than doing the work for them. You can help them with sticking to their structure, finding sources, and ensuring they've properly answered the questions, but they need to be working on each paragraph and writing in their own words. Afterwards, you can both review what they've written and make any changes as needed, as per the next few slides. Step 11. Revising essays. As with writing essays, most tutors are already familiar with helping students improve previously written essay drafts. In general, this will involve helping with the usual areas that students struggle with, such as 1. Grammar and punctuation, 2. Essay structure and format, 3. Use of sources, and 4. Transitions and word choice. However, with philosophy, students will often be coming to you for content help as well, to see if they have explained everything correctly and to make any necessary changes if not. Sometimes these will be first drafts that they have already started working on but not turned in. Otherwise, they will usually be a draft that their instructor has marked that they are hoping to revise. Step 12. Revising essays continued. So, if the instructor has already graded this paper and marked it up, make sure that the student is aware of any of the changes they need to make and explain any comments that they don't understand. Focus on any content changes first, as certain sections might need to be edited or removed, so fixing the grammar there ends up wasting time. If the student hasn't explained something well, make sure they understand the material first and begin topic explanation as needed. Otherwise, If their explanation, argument, or understanding is clear, continue working through the typical grammar changes as normal. At the end, be sure to check for any instances of possible plagiarism, including both their parenthetical citations and the works cited page. Step 13. Presentations. Presentations aren't a particular common assignment type in philosophy, but they do occasionally come up. Many students are very nervous about presenting because they often worry about public speaking and making their topic interesting. However, most instructors are well aware of this fact, and most presentations are only expected to last 5 to 15 minutes. As a result, students will rarely have to go into a lot of detail, and generally, a brief overview of their topic is all that's required, with some visual cues to make the experience more enjoyable. Step 14. Presentations continued. It's usually a good idea for students to create a brief summary of their issue, as they won't have time to cover everything in the presentation. Students should aim to 1. Focus on having only short bullets and rely on their own words to explain things in further detail. 2. Keep the layout simple and uncluttered, avoiding unreadable fonts, jarring colors, or visuals that otherwise distract from the point. 3. Spell check their work. Practice beforehand to ensure they speak effectively and time themselves to stick within their allotted time. Finally, CSN has a communications lab to further help students with their presentations, located in Module 2 by M Building. Step 15. Group discussions. As an assignment type, group discussions are usually confined to online classes, where students will be expected to log in regularly and participate with their comments in the relevant topic thread. However, sometimes students will need help with preparing their input for an upcoming discussion in a classroom as well. In any case, students will generally be expected to have a working knowledge of the topic and will have to contribute something valuable and meaningful to the discussion. In many ways, group discussion assignments incorporate most of the skills on the previous slides, requiring the students can understand the topic, explain it, and answer questions in a short time frame. Step 16. Group discussions continued. Like a philosophy essay, students should focus on strong arguments. In particular, they should avoid any rambling tangents or fallacies when thinking about their responses to the given topic. As with delivering a presentation, students contributing to the discussion will want to keep their points clear and concise. If disputes arise, it's usually best for them to avoid getting involved. While getting into a heated argument might make them feel better, it rarely helps the discussion and can actually harm their participation grade instead. Step 17. Conclusion. This completes Module 6. Please feel free to revisit any slides within this module and take any notes you need. There will be a quiz to assess your knowledge of the material within this training module, so see the relevant link in Canvas. After taking the quiz, remember to check your answers and retake the assessment if needed. A score of 100% is required. See the relevant Module 6 discussion thread as needed for this topic in Canvas for any further questions or comments.